Bitcoin, what does it mean for you? There's a lot of questions surrounding this online digital currency, and hopefully I can answer a few of them in this video and allow you, the subscriber, to understand what Bitcoin means, and then also compare it to gold and silver, which is what we all perceive as being the ultimate currency and store of value. So let's take a look at exactly what Bitcoin is first, and then talk about the potential advantages and disadvantages of Bitcoin going forward. What is Bitcoin? You'd be surprised how many people will invest in something that they don't really know about. And so for those of you that don't know, Bitcoin is basically a digital currency or a cryptocurrency using a high level of encryption to ensure that transactions are completed over the internet with somewhat anonymity, and I'll talk to you more about that later. Bitcoin is open source, meaning that the code to make the Bitcoin network or protocol is open for developers to create other types of digital currency using the foundation of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is decentralized. That means that there is no main server or no central bank or home base for Bitcoin to host transactions. So basically anybody that is on the protocol and has a Bitcoin wallet and can pay for things or trade for things using Bitcoin can trade between each other without any central authority. Bitcoin is basically math and energy. Okay, the encryption in Bitcoin is based on mathematics, and the energy that is used to create Bitcoins through the Bitcoin protocol is, of course, through the internet and personal computers. So that's it in a nutshell, as simply as I can put it for those of you that really want to know what Bitcoin is. The potential of Bitcoin. Why is it making headlines all over the world recently? Well, Bitcoin is currently valued at over $1,200 US and is at all-time highs in virtually every other fiat currency in the world. And so this parabolic rise to record levels per Bitcoin is why there's so much hype with the digital currency. China's Baidu search engine earlier this year said they would allow Bitcoin transactions over their network, and the fact that most people perceive Bitcoin as being unhackable, or like I said before, not worth the time it takes to actually hack into a wallet or the energy that it takes to hack into it. Recently, the Silk Road had been shut down, which was a website that was online for transactions in Bitcoin for things like illegal drugs, and the government had seized control of that, and the individual that was responsible for it had tried to hack into his Bitcoin wallet and were unsuccessful. So this is a very attractive tool for not only illegal activities but mostly legal activities around the world, because the governments of the world or thieves cannot hack into your wallet to take your funds. Advantages of Bitcoin. There are several more than are listed here, but I'm going to go over the main advantages of Bitcoin if you're considering it. Almost anonymous. And why do I say almost anonymous? Because it's not completely anonymous. Bitcoin transactions are stored publicly and permanently on the Bitcoin network through the protocol, which means anyone can see the balance of transactions of any Bitcoin address. However, the identity of you and your wallet is anonymous. So it's kind of a mixed bag. They can monitor the traffic going through your local ISP, but they cannot get your identity from your transaction. Quantity control. There is a limited quantity of Bitcoins. They're set at a limited quantity, and that is in the protocol, in the code itself. This is a little misleading as well, because there are fractions and fractions and fractions and smaller fractions of Bitcoin, and it can be divided up into very small amounts. So although there is a quantity control, the division of Bitcoin to the very small fractions is available. So you can imagine how much that can cover as far as if you're looking at a minuscule amount of one fraction of a Bitcoin. Fungible, what does that mean? That means that you can actually pay for things at different prices, and that the Bitcoin money you can transact in different units or different weights, so to speak, so that you're not paying for something one Bitcoin at a time. You're able to trade it for other things of different value weight. Alternative for fiat. This is a key one here. That's exciting. Basically, the alternative for fiat, which we do need competition out there for transactions, depending whether it's digital or fiat or precious metals or whatever. Competition is good, it's healthy, and it allows the consumer to pick the best avenue for paying for goods and services and storing wealth, which is also very important. Disadvantages of Bitcoin, and there are several more that are listed here. First, Bitcoin price is volatile, as we know, looking at the charts, that it has gone parabolic up over $1,200 in value per Bitcoin. And anything that goes straight up must come down. It is the law of nature. We can look at parabolic moves in many other asset classes and find that over time, they eventually will have a huge correction. And this is the downside risk of Bitcoin. And those of you out there considering getting in Bitcoin or are in fact in Bitcoin might want to consider that no asset class goes straight up. There's always a rocky road and huge corrections along the way. Payments are irreversible. This is a key disadvantage of Bitcoin, that once you make your payment, it is gone. You can't get it back. There is no such thing as consumer protection with Bitcoin. If someone commits fraud when using Bitcoin, you can't go to an agency and make a complaint and get law enforcement involved, because there's no way to really trace the Bitcoin transaction once it's left to you, and this is a huge disadvantage. Bitcoin is experimental. It is basically kind of like a beta digital currency. It's just getting started, about 4 years in running, so there's not a long track record, and that is important when we're talking about a person's money or anything that can be construed as money, something that is a storage of wealth. You want to make sure that it has a long track record. Wallets can be stolen or lost. This has happened several times, and there are many people out there that have stories of wallets that have been stolen or lost. There'll be many, many more of those stories in the near future, and that is a major concern. Government policy concern or government regulation. This is huge, because as of today, here we are early in December 2013, the Chinese government and the People's Bank of China, which is in China the largest Bitcoin market in terms of number of people involved with it, has come down and said that they will not allow Bitcoin payments to be used as transactions. And this is key, because the market in China is so big. It's banned from financial institution and payment services as of early December of 2013. Bitcoin prices are already starting to plunge in China by 25%, and we'll see where that goes. But this is a major blow to Bitcoin, as the Chinese government does not like it. And I'm assuming that many other governments in the world do not like it as well, for obvious reasons. When we're talking about Bitcoin, we have to talk about it in terms of its relationship to other digital currencies, fiat currencies, and of course the ultimate storage of wealth, gold and silver, and really anything else that has some kind of value and use for exchange. We can only really decide if Bitcoin is viable and something that we want to get into if we measure it against something else. Satoshi Nakamoto the hacker name or alias of the creator of Bitcoin. There's some mystery surrounding the origins of Bitcoin, and that in itself is something that may keep people away from it. Obviously, historical track record, gold and silver have thousands of years of track record and has been used as a storage of wealth and as transactions for goods and services for so long that we can be certain that in the future gold and silver will have some perceived value, and that is very important for something that you want to store your wealth in. Acceptability, gold and silver have that acceptability, and you can use gold and silver to trade for any fiat currency, goods and services, or anything that is intrinsic, and that's a key word to understand. Does it have intrinsic value? Gold and silver do. Bitcoin, it's debatable. Yes, it is something, but what exactly is it and how to weigh it? Internet reliance. Bitcoin is heavily reliant on the internet, obviously. Without some kind of electrical transaction vehicle, Bitcoin cannot survive. However, gold and silver do not require any electricity whatsoever. You can barter, trade, and do what you would with gold and silver at your own discretion, and you don't need any kind of infrastructure to support that. So in closing, will Bitcoin remain or will Bitcoin become vaporware? You'll get many different opinions on this. Nobody can agree 100% on what the future of Bitcoin will be, but I know one thing's for sure, that digital currencies are here to stay, and that maybe the testament to Bitcoin going forward in the years to come is that it started the digital cryptocurrency, and that is an important thing because we want a lot of competition out there. We want people to be able to have the free will and the choice of what kind of currency and store of wealth that they want, and in that regards I do like Bitcoin, but for me personally I would not get involved with it. Gold and silver for me are the perfect mechanisms for storing and transferring wealth, and they've been working for me, and I understand it. I'm confident in it, and the track record is unbeatable. Recently I was in Vancouver for the opening of the very first Bitcoin ATM in the world, and that was at a coffee shop in Vancouver. There's good enthusiasm for Bitcoin, but less people accepting Bitcoin than what they need to keep Bitcoin growing. Like I said, recently in China, they're cracking down on Bitcoin. The U.S. government is taking a close look at Bitcoin. There are tax implications in every country with Bitcoin. These transactions go untaxed, and you're going to draw a lot of attention from government regulation, and that is does not bode well for the future of Bitcoin. A more regulated cryptocurrency that has more transparency in the foundation of it, and more cooperation with not only the masses but with some of the banks and the authorities, that might have some staying power. But I think with any type of currency, whether it's hard currency or ones and zeros, there's going to be a risk of downside, and there's going to be problems with it because human beings created it, and anything that's created by human beings is flawed indeed. So we'll have to keep an eye and see what happens with digital currencies. I hope that this informs you and gets you thinking a little bit more about the concept and relationship to gold and silver, if that's what you're into.